Hello, and today we're going to be doing 14 for day 2, exponential and quadratic regression. Today we're actually just doing exponential regressions. Alright, so we're just going to work through 3 separate problems. I'm going to show you how to do that regression on the calculator. On the simulator, if you're doing it obviously on your own calculator, it's going to be exactly the same. Okay, so the table shows the average number of daily hits for an online store in various years since the year 2000, so we'll keep track of that. Alright, so I zoomed in on my data here, so I can see years since 2000, so I have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, and then I have some data in thousands. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go onto the calculator, and I want to enter this data because the question that I'm asking is write the equation of best fit, and then I'm asking you to predict some number for some year. So I need to have that equation of best fit first. So let's go ahead and go to the calculator. So on the calculator, I'm starting with my RAM cleared. So I'm going to go over to stat by pressing the stat key. And I want to edit, so I can just go ahead and press enter and enter that data. And you can actually just use your keyboard. So you can enter those data points in. I want to go to L2, so I'm going to press the over arrow key. I'm going to type in 2, 6.6, 20.9. 68.1 and 220.4. If I'm going faster than you are, just pause it and just catch up. Okay, so I always have to double check my data, just look at it real quick because I do type kind of fast. So there it is. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I like to actually graph my data first, especially when you start doing, like tomorrow you're going to talk about which one is the best regression fit. So I am going to go ahead and graph this. I'm going to go ahead and press second stat plot or second y equals because it's in blue. So I'm going to go to second y equals. And if you have your calculator cleared, you should have all these stat plots off. I want to turn a stat plot on. So I'm going to go ahead and this first one, I'm just going to press enter. And it's going to highlight to turn on. I'm just going to press enter again. And I'll do this 3 separate times so you guys will see it. Alright, so now if I graph this, I can only see a little bit of stuff here because my data points are outside that window. So I need to zoom so that I can see my stats points. So you're going to press the word zoom. And number 9 is zoom stat. It's actually going to just zoom in on your statistics. So you can just press the number 9 or scroll down to number 9 if you want to. So now I can see all of my data points. And they look exponential, which is fantastic. Okay, so I would always do that first just to make sure the points look like they're actually graphed properly. So I graphed it. Now I'm going to go ahead and run my exponential regression. So I'm going to press stat. I'm going to go over to calculate. So I'm going to press the over arrow key. And stat is actually, the exponential regression is actually number 0. So you can just press 0 or you can scroll all the way down to 0. I usually just press 0. Okay, it's going to automatically bring up this entire process here. So it's going to fill in L1 and L2, so you can just press down and down, or press enter, whichever one you want to, doesn't matter. I am going to go ahead and show you how to, if you haven't already seen so far, to store the regression equation, so we can actually graph the line onto our stat plot. And I'll do this 3 separate times, so you can see it over and over if you need to. Alright, so where it says store regression equation, I want to store that so it graphs it under y equals. So I'm going to go to var variable. I want to store it as a variable here. And I want to store it as a y variable. So I want it to be in that y equals. I am storing, these other things make no sense. I'm storing it as a function. So I'm just going to press enter or press number 1. And automatically it's y1, so just press enter. Okay, good to go. Press calculate. Boom. There is our equation. So I'm going to go ahead and says write the equation of best fit. I'm just going to go ahead and write it as exponential, because that's what it is. And it even tells you on the screen that a times b to the x. So I'm going to say y equals, and a is going to be 2.01, and I guess I'll just round to 3 place values. So 2.01, and that 2 is going to round to a 3. And in parentheses, I'm going to put 1.798 and raise it to the x power. And that is my exponential regression. And I always like to I like to graph it and just double check. So I'm just going to go zoom 9, or you can press graph again. And I can see that is a perfect graph there. It looks great. So my equation fit perfectly well. I'm good to go. All right. So our last question for this guy here is predict the number of daily hits for this store in 2007. Well, 2007 is 7 years past 2000. So x equals 7. So this is interpolation. It is inside the data set. So our data set goes from the year 2000 to the year 2008. So 2007 is inside the data. So my answer should be between 68.1 and 220, reasonably. Okay, so I'm just going to take this exact equation and literally plug in a 7 for x. So I'm going to go ahead and press second quit on my calculator, and I'm just going to type in 2.0, I'm going to use my keyboard, 13, parentheses, 1.798, parentheses. I'm going to press the caret key right here, and then I'm going to raise it to a 7 and press enter. And that is my answer. So the number of daily hits in the year 2000 is 122.28, and I'll just round to 3 place values and say 5. But don't forget it's in thousands, so I'm going to go ahead and say 1,000. So, oops, sorry, out of the screen there. So there's that. It's that many 1,000 hits on that website. All right, we moved on to problem number 2 here. So problem number 2 says the table shows the percent of population in a given year. So over here on our table, we have a specific year and then the percent of population. The question again is find the equation of best fit. So I'm going to go over here and press second plus 712, or you could actually go up and press actions and clear your emulator. But there it is. I'm going to go to stat and I'm going to edit. So press enter and I'm going to enter these data points. Starting with the year 2006 is going to be a 0. Then past that, 2007 is 1 year past 2006, and then 2 years past, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, because 2013 is 7 years past that. Okay, moving on over to my next, I have a 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 11, 16, and 22. Make sure those guys are lined up properly, double check your stats, looks good to me. I am going to turn my stat plot on. So I'm going to press second, stat plot. I want to turn the first one on, so I'm going to press enter. It automatically highlights on. I'm going to press enter again. Then I'm actually going to go ahead and do my exponential regression. So I'm going to go over to stat. Sorry, I jumped the gun there. And I want to go over to calculate. So I'm going to press the over arrow key. And I remember that it's number 0, so you can scroll all the way down or just press the number 0. So I prefer just to press 0 for exponential regression. And again, it should have everything filled out. I am going to go ahead and store my regression equation because I like to look at it. And we'll just do it all at one time. I actually forgot to look at it, but these are all exponential today. Tomorrow you'll have the option of quadratic, exponential, linear. But I'm going to go ahead to store this equation under y equals. I've got to go to vars. I want to go to y vars, so press the over arrow key. And I'm just going to press enter for function and enter for y sub 1. And then press enter and then press enter. Okay, and I'm done. There's my equation. So I can go ahead and go over here where it says write the equation of best fit. And I can say y equals 1.487, rounding to 3 place values, 1.48. And that 7 here, so 3 place values, this 7 is going to go up because the 8 is higher than 5. So I'm going to have 8 to the x power. Okay, and I should have graphed it beforehand. I just forgot, but I'm not going to go back and re-record. So I'm just going to go ahead and graph it. But don't forget, if you graph it right now, it's going to not fit your data. So you can graph it. It may or may not be on the screen, but you always want to press zoom, and I want to have that zoom stat. So press zoom 9, and then it's going to fit perfectly on your screen. This guy is clearly not linear, and you'll talk about tomorrow with whoever's teaching it, I think Miss Nicely, whether it's quadratic or exponential. But today, everything's exponential, so here's your exponential, and this line fits it pretty well. Okay, I'm going to press second, quit to get out of that. My next question is predict the percent of population in 2015. So if I'm starting at the year 2006, 2015 is how many years past 2006? Well, you can just do 2015 minus 2006 if you don't know, and you get 9. So I'm going to get x equals 9. Okay, well 2015 is actually outside the data. So my data goes from 2006 to 2013. So it's outside the data, so it's actually extrapolation. I'm using my data to extrapolate, to guess what's going on outside. X means outside. So outside the data, so I'm just going to plug in a 9 into this exact equation. So I'm going to type in 1.487 parentheses, 1.488 parentheses, caret, and then type in a 9. Okay, press enter, and you get that. I don't tell you exactly how to round, so I'm just going to round to 3 place values, I guess. So that 8 is going to round up to a 9 because of that 6. So predict the percent. So we'll just tag on a percent symbol. Looks good to me. All right, for our last question, we're going to use the given table to answer the questions. We're going to find the equation of best fit. We're going to interpolate and extrapolate. Same thing we have just done several times. All right, so here is my table. I've already cleared my calculator, 2nd plus 712, or press the actions key and then clear emulator or whatever. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to stat. I want to go to edit, so just press enter. I'm going to enter my data points very carefully. 1, 3, 3, 5, 4, 8, 11. Okay, and then 56, 44, 41, 11, 22, 3, and 2. Again, if I go faster, just pause me. All right, I am going to definitely graph this just to double check. So, because I cleared my calculator, I've got to second stat plot. I want to turn my plot on, so I'm going to press enter. Automatically, it wants to turn it on. Boom. Again, if you press graph, you may or may not see your data points, so don't press graph. Just go ahead and go straight to zoom 9, zoom fit here, zoom stat, I'm sorry, and it will automatically graph all your data points. And that guy, you can see he looks exponential. He's got this, he's going down, he's a decay. So I'm going to go ahead and run my exponential regression. So I'm going to press stat. I'm going to go over to calc. Exponential regression again is number 0. I'm just going to press 0. Okay. Press enter several times. Boom, boom, boom. I do want to store my equation so I can look at it. So I'm going to go to vars. I'm going to go to yvars. I'm just going to press enter several times. Enter, enter, enter. All right, there it is. There's my equation. So my equation of best fit is y equals 99.065, parentheses 0.68, and I'm going to round to a 3 there because 2 is higher than, whatever, the 2 goes up to the x power. So there's my equation, and I'm just going to go ahead and zoom 9 just so I can double check that this guy, he's done the best he can, so he looks good. Looks good to me. All right, my last 2 questions, you may have noticed I changed this number. It was a 4 initially, but I realized there was a 4 in there, so I just changed it to a 6, and I didn't want to re-record. All right, so find the output if x equals 6. This is going to be interpolation because 6 is within the data set between 1 and 11, so it is going to be in there. So I'm just going to plug in a 6 in for my x here. So I'm going to second quit to get out of the graph there. I'm just going to type in 99.065, parentheses, 0.683, parentheses, raise it to a caret, and I'm just going to raise it to x equals 6 and get my answer. Okay, my answer is, the output is 10.056. And that's all there is to that answer. Okay, the next question says, find the output if x equals 12. Well, x equals 12 is outside of my data set, so it is going to be extrapolation. I'm just going to go plug in a 12 in for x. And on your calculator, I'm actually going to save time. I don't want to type this whole thing in again, especially make sure I typed it correctly. I did. So I'm just going to press the up arrow key 2 times and pull down. So press enter. So I press the up arrow key 2 times. Let me do that again. So it's here. Press it up twice. It should highlight your question. If you press enter, it'll pull your question back down. And I can just press the over arrow key and then just instead of typing in a 6, type in a 12. And that will save me from having to type in the whole entire equation again. Boom, there it is. So if x equals 12, my output is 1.021. All right, and that is it. I do recommend graphing it each time just to look at it, especially starting tomorrow, you'll look at 3 different types. So graphing it definitely helps. Otherwise, if you need more help on the steps, just watch the video again. I mean, the steps are on there. You just watch it again if you need to. Alrighty, good luck with your homework and see you guys later. Bye.